You wake up in the middle of the night, and suddenly, without any warning, a sharp, agonizing pain grips your leg. Your calf feels like it's being twisted from the inside. You try to move, you try to stretch, but the pain just keeps going. Your heart is pounding, your breath is short, and all you can do is wait for it to pass. And when it finally does, you lie there in the dark, exhausted and scared, wondering, why does this keep happening to me? If that sounds familiar, I need you to stay right here with me because what I'm about to share with you is something that most doctors never explain during a routine visit. And what you're about to hear could genuinely change the quality of your sleep and possibly save your life. I'm Dr. Emily Reynolds, a specialist in senior health, and for 8 years I've been dedicating my work entirely to the health of older adults. I've seen this pattern more times than I can count. Patients come to me after years of suffering with nightly leg cramps, and they all say the same thing. Their doctor told them to take magnesium, so they took magnesium for months, sometimes years, and the cramps never stopped. Because in most of these cases, magnesium was never the real problem to begin with. And if this is happening to you, I want you to do something for me right now. If you've been taking magnesium for leg cramps and it hasn't worked, write the word "still hurting" in the comments. I read every single one, and your response is going to help me understand just how many people are being left without the right answer. Now, before we go any further, I want you to do one quick thing for me. If this video is already making you think, if you're already nodding along, please tap that like button right now. It takes less than 2 seconds, and it helps this message reach other seniors who are suffering in silence and don't know why. So let's start from the very beginning, because I want you to truly understand what is happening inside your body when a leg cramp strikes at night. And I promise you, by the end of this, things are going to make a lot more sense. When most people think about leg cramps, they immediately think about minerals, magnesium, potassium, calcium. These are the words that get thrown around constantly. And yes, in some cases, a mineral imbalance can contribute to muscle cramping. That part is true. But here is what nobody tells you. When cramps happen specifically at night, repeatedly in people over the age of 60, and when they don't improve with mineral supplements, the root cause is almost always something entirely different, something deeper, something that has to do with your blood vessels, your nerves, and the way your body changes as it gets older. And this is the most important part of all, so I want you to really listen here. Your muscles need a continuous, steady supply of blood to function correctly. When you sleep, your heart rate slows, your blood pressure drops slightly, and circulation becomes less forceful. For a young, healthy person, this isn't a problem. But for an older adult, especially one whose arteries have narrowed or stiffened over the years, this drop in nighttime circulation can be just enough to starve the muscle of oxygen. And when a muscle is deprived of oxygen, even briefly, it reacts the same way every single time. It goes into a violent, involuntary contraction. That is your leg cramp. That is what is happening to you. And it has almost nothing to do with magnesium. Now, I need to tell you something important before we go any deeper. There are actually several distinct causes of nightly leg cramps in seniors, and each one requires a different response. So I'm going to walk you through them carefully, one by one, because understanding which one applies to you is what makes the difference between finally getting relief and continuing to suffer. Stay with me, because what's coming next will surprise you. The first hidden cause is something called peripheral arterial disease, or PAD. This is a condition where the arteries that carry blood to your legs and feet gradually become narrowed and hardened, often due to the buildup of plaque over many decades. It is estimated that PAD affects more than 12 million Americans, and the majority of them don't even know they have it. According to the American Heart Association, more than half of people with PAD experience no classic symptoms at all, which means millions of people are walking around, sleeping around, with significantly reduced blood flow to their lower limbs. And they attribute the discomfort to aging, to tiredness, to mineral deficiency, never suspecting the real cause. When PAD is present, the legs receive adequate blood during the day when you're upright and moving. But at night, when circulation naturally slows, those already narrowed arteries simply can't deliver enough oxygen to keep the muscle tissue stable. The result is cramping, often severe, often in the calf, sometimes in the foot or thigh, and almost always at night. And here's the thing that's so troubling about this. Most patients with PAD are sent home with magnesium tablets. Not because magnesium will help, but because the doctor didn't look deep enough. The magnesium becomes a kind of placeholder, something that feels like an answer but solves nothing. Now comes the second hidden cause, and this one is perhaps even more overlooked. It's called lumbar spinal stenosis, and it refers to a narrowing of the spaces within your spine, particularly in the lower back region, which puts pressure on the nerves that travel down into your legs. As we age, the spine naturally degenerates to some extent. The discs lose height, the vertebrae shift slightly, and the canal through which the spinal cord and nerve roots pass can become constricted. When that happens, the nerves to your lower limbs are constantly under pressure, and at night, when you lie flat, the geometry of your spine changes in a way that can intensify that pressure. The result? Cramping, burning, or a deep aching sensation in the legs that wakes you from sleep. Many people with lumbar spinal stenosis also notice that their leg discomfort is worse when they walk for long distances, and that it improves when they lean forward, such as when leaning on a shopping cart. If that pattern sounds familiar to you, I want you to write the number 2 in the comments, because what I'm describing could be your answer. The third hidden cause is one that I think is the most underappreciated of all: chronic venous insufficiency. This is a condition where the veins in your legs, which are responsible for returning blood back up toward the heart, lose their efficiency. The tiny valves inside the veins that prevent blood from flowing backward begin to weaken. Blood starts to pool in the lower legs, especially as the day goes on and gravity does its work. And at night, when you lie down and the pooled blood redistributes, the shift in pressure and fluid balance within the muscle tissue can trigger intense cramping. Chronic venous insufficiency is incredibly common in adults over 60, and it's especially common in people who spent decades on their feet, whether in nursing, retail, construction, or any other job that required standing for long hours. It's also more common in women than in men, and it tends to run in families. The signs beyond cramping can include swollen ankles by evening, a feeling of heaviness in the legs, varicose veins, and occasionally a brownish discoloration of the skin around the ankles. And yet, again and again, the first thing these patients are told is to take magnesium, because it's easy, it's inexpensive, and it's not wrong in all cases, but it is wrong in theirs. Let me tell you about a woman I'll call Dorothy. She was 74 years old, from Adelaide in Australia, a former school teacher who had been waking up with leg cramps nearly every single night for almost 3 years. She had tried 4 different types of magnesium supplements. She had increased her water intake. She had changed her diet. She had done everything she was told. Nothing worked. By the time she came to see me, she was exhausted. She was anxious about going to sleep, and she had developed a kind of nightly dread, the fear of what she knew was coming. When I examined her properly, we found significant venous insufficiency in both legs, along with early signs of peripheral arterial narrowing. We also found that 2 medications she had been taking for years, one for blood pressure and one for bladder control, both had leg cramping as a known side effect. Nobody had ever mentioned this to her. Not once. 3 separate causes, all hidden, all ignored. When we addressed them properly, with compression therapy, a medication review, and targeted vascular support, her cramps reduced dramatically within 6 weeks. She wrote to me and said, and I'll never forget this, she said, "I had forgotten what it felt like to sleep through the night." And here's what I want you to understand about Dorothy's story. It's not unusual, it's actually very typical. The reason so many seniors are suffering with this problem is not because there is no solution. It's because the correct questions are never being asked. Now let's talk about the medication connection, because this is where things get serious. And this is something I feel very strongly about sharing with you. There is a long and well-documented list of commonly prescribed medications that can cause or worsen leg cramps, particularly at night. And this is not rare. This is not a side effect that only affects 1 or 2% of people. For some of these medications, cramping affects a significant portion of users, and yet it is frequently underreported and rarely mentioned during prescription. Diuretics, which are very commonly prescribed to treat high blood pressure and heart failure, can deplete the body of potassium, sodium, and magnesium. But more importantly, they reduce the overall fluid volume in your blood vessels, which directly affects circulation to the extremities. This means the very medication you're taking to protect your heart could be reducing blood flow to your legs at night. Statins, which are cholesterol-lowering drugs used by tens of millions of older adults, have a well-known association with muscle pain and cramping. The mechanism involves interference with a compound called coenzyme Q10, which plays a critical role in muscle cell energy production. Without adequate coenzyme Q10, muscle cells become more prone to involuntary contraction and fatigue. Beta blockers, another extremely common class of blood pressure medication, reduce the heart's output and can diminish blood flow to the peripheral limbs, particularly at night when circulation is already at its slowest. And then there are medications for overactive bladder, certain antidepressants, and even some asthma inhalers, all of which can alter muscle excitability and increase the likelihood of nocturnal cramping. If you are taking any of these medications and you are experiencing nightly leg cramps, please do not stop your medication without speaking to your doctor first. But I want you to bring this up at your very next appointment. Say to your doctor, "I read that some of my medications can cause leg cramps. Could this be connected to what I'm experiencing?" That single question could change everything. If this is something that resonates with you, if you're on medication and you've been wondering whether it might be connected to your cramps, write the word medication in the comments. You might be surprised how many other people are in exactly the same situation. And before I go any further, I want to mention something I genuinely believe in. If you're finding this information helpful, if you feel like this is the kind of detailed, honest health guidance that you wish you were getting from your medical team, consider becoming a member of this channel. As a member, you receive exclusive content specifically designed for older adults, including detailed guides, early access to new videos, and resources you can bring directly to your doctor's appointments. Our community is growing every week, and the people in it are helping each other live better, healthier lives. Now, let's talk about something that I know you're waiting for, and that is, what can you actually do about this? Because information without action is just frustration, and I don't want to leave you there. The first thing I want to tell you is about a simple technique that many of my patients have found gives them relief within seconds when a cramp strikes. And yes, I'm talking about something that can work in approximately 7 seconds, not as a cure, but as an immediate response. When a cramp begins, your instinct is to tense up, to curl your toes, to brace against the pain. This is completely natural, but it is the opposite of what your muscle needs. The moment a cramp starts, you need to actively and firmly flex your foot upward, pulling your toes toward your knee while simultaneously pressing your heel away from your body. This is called a dorsiflexion stretch. Hold it firmly, breathe deeply, and in most cases, the muscle will begin to release within seconds because you are mechanically forcing the contracted muscle fibers to elongate. You are overriding the cramp's grip by using the opposing muscle group. Many people find that standing up and putting their weight flat on the floor also accelerates relief because the pressure signals the nervous system to release the contraction reflex. If you can manage it safely, getting up slowly and standing flat-footed can shorten the duration of a cramp significantly. Now let's talk about what you can do to reduce how often these cramps happen in the first place, because prevention is always better than treatment. The first practical step is to look very seriously at your hydration. I know you've heard this before, but I want to explain it in a way that might finally make it click. As we age, our sensation of thirst diminishes significantly. Research from the National Institute on Aging confirms that older adults are frequently in a state of mild chronic dehydration without ever feeling particularly thirsty. Dehydration thickens the blood slightly, reduces its ability to flow freely through narrower vessels, and increases the excitability of nerve endings in the muscle tissue. All of this makes cramping more likely. The practical recommendation is to drink water consistently throughout the day, not all at once in the evening, which can disrupt sleep and cause unnecessary nighttime bathroom trips. A good target is to have a glass of water with every meal and one additional glass mid-morning and mid-afternoon. That simple habit alone can meaningfully reduce nighttime cramping in people who are chronically mildly dehydrated. The second prevention strategy is to address your sleeping position. Many people who suffer from nightly leg cramps sleep on their back with the sheets pulled tightly over their feet, which forces the feet into a pointed position called plantar flexion. When the foot is held in this downward pointed position for hours, the calf muscle remains in a shortened state, which significantly increases the risk of cramping. The solution is simple but powerful. Loosen your sheets, tuck them in less tightly, or use a footboard or pillow at the base of your bed to keep the sheets from bearing down on your feet. The third strategy is to incorporate a very gentle leg stretching routine before you go to sleep. I want to be clear, this doesn't have to be complicated or time consuming. Just 3 to 5 minutes of gentle calf stretching before you get into bed can significantly reduce the frequency of nighttime cramps. You can do this standing facing a wall with one foot forward and one foot back, gently pressing your back heel toward the floor. Or you can do it seated at the edge of the bed, slowly flexing and extending your feet several times. The goal is to warm up the muscle tissue and reduce the baseline tension before you settle in for the night. The fourth strategy, and this one is critical, is to evaluate your footwear. This may sound unrelated, but it's not. People who spend their days in flat shoes, slippers, or barefoot place continuous strain on the calf muscles and the Achilles tendon, keeping these tissues in a shortened, tense state from morning to night. Wearing shoes with a small supportive heel, even just an inch of elevation, can reduce baseline calf tension significantly and lower the likelihood of nighttime cramping. Now I want to talk about when leg cramps become a warning sign that you absolutely must not ignore. Because I said at the beginning of this video that this could be a matter of life and death, and I meant it. When leg cramps occur alongside other symptoms, they can be the signal of a cardiovascular problem that requires urgent attention. If your leg cramps are accompanied by swelling in one leg only, that can indicate a deep vein thrombosis, a blood clot, which if left untreated can travel to the lungs and become a life-threatening pulmonary embolism. If your cramps are accompanied by pain that wakes you not just at night but also at rest during the day, if your legs feel cold or appear pale or bluish, if the skin on your lower legs feels unusually dry or hairless compared to the upper legs, these are classic signs of significant peripheral arterial disease, and they require medical evaluation urgently. Let me be very direct about this. These are not symptoms to wait and see about. These are not symptoms to manage with magnesium and hope for the best. If any of those warning signs are present, please contact your doctor or go to an urgent care facility and describe exactly what you are experiencing. Say, I am having recurring leg cramps at night and I want to be evaluated for vascular disease. Use those exact words. You deserve to have this taken seriously. And here's another thing nobody tells you that I think is absolutely worth understanding. The frequency and severity of leg cramps in older adults has been linked in several studies to sleep quality and cardiovascular outcomes. A study published in a major European journal of internal medicine found that older adults who experienced frequent nocturnal leg cramps had significantly higher rates of cardiovascular events over a 5-year follow-up period compared to those who did not. This doesn't mean cramps cause heart problems, but it does suggest they may be a visible signal of deeper circulatory issues that, if addressed early, can improve your long-term health in a profound way. This is why I feel so strongly about getting this message out. Because when we take nighttime leg cramps seriously, when we stop dismissing them as just a nuisance or a mineral deficiency, we open the door to identifying and addressing vascular problems before they progress. We give people the chance to protect not just their sleep, but their lives. I'd love to know your experience with this. Have you been dealing with nightly leg cramps for a long time, and have the standard recommendations never quite worked for you? Leave your story in the comments. You might be surprised how much it helps someone else who is going through the same thing and feeling completely alone with it. Now, let me tell you about another patient I want to share with you, because his story perfectly illustrates how interconnected all of these factors can be. His name was George, 78 years old, from Edinburgh in Scotland, a retired engineer who had been waking up 2 or 3 times a night with severe calf cramps for over 4 years. He had a long history of controlled hypertension, he was on 2 blood pressure medications, and he had been taking magnesium for years on the advice of his GP. The cramps had never improved. When he came to my attention, we conducted a thorough review. We found that one of his blood pressure medications was a diuretic that had been causing mild but chronic depletion of his electrolytes. We also found on a simple ankle brachial index test, which is a quick, non-invasive test that compares blood pressure in the arm to blood pressure at the ankle, that the blood flow to his right leg was meaningfully reduced, suggesting early peripheral arterial narrowing. His sleeping position also kept his feet in a pointed position all night due to a tightly made bed. We made 3 changes. We adjusted one of his medications in consultation with his cardiologist. We gave him a simple stretching routine to do before bed, and we advised him on his sleeping setup and hydration habits. Within 2 months, his nightly cramps had gone from occurring almost every night to perhaps once or twice a week, and those remaining episodes were far milder and shorter than before. He told me he hadn't slept this well in years. He said he'd almost forgotten what it felt like to wake up rested. George's case matters because none of the solutions were miraculous. They were just specific. They were targeted at the actual causes, not at a general assumption. And this brings me to the core message I want you to take away from everything we've covered today. Nighttime leg cramps in older adults are almost never a simple problem with a simple solution. They are a signal. They are your body's way of telling you that something in your circulation, your nervous system, your medications, or your daily habits needs attention. And when you treat them as a signal and investigate properly, you almost always find something that can be meaningfully improved. Please do not accept suffering as a normal part of getting older. It is not normal. It is common, yes, but common and normal are not the same thing. You deserve to sleep through the night. You deserve to wake up rested and free from pain, and with the right information and the right support, that is genuinely within reach for most people. Let me now take just a moment to bring together the most important practical points from everything we've covered, so you have a clear path forward. First, if your leg cramps have not responded to magnesium, stop assuming that more magnesium is the answer. Ask your doctor for a vascular evaluation, including an ankle brachial index test, which is simple, painless, and can reveal arterial narrowing. Second, bring your full medication list to your next doctor's appointment and specifically ask whether any of your medications are associated with muscle cramping or circulation changes in the legs. Third, start stretching your calves gently before bed each night, even for just a few minutes. Fourth, loosen your bed sheets so your feet are not held in a pointed position all night. Fifth, hydrate consistently throughout the day, especially in the morning and early afternoon. Sixth, if you develop one-sided leg swelling, persistent rest pain, coldness, or color changes in your legs, seek medical attention promptly and use the words vascular evaluation with your doctor. These are not complicated steps, but they are specific, and specificity is what makes the difference. If this video has given you a new way of thinking about something you've been struggling with, if it has answered a question that nobody else seemed willing to address, then please do something for me. Tap that like button one more time before you go. It truly helps this content reach more people who need it. And if you're watching on a device that shows a subscribe button, please tap that too, because we create content like this every week, and I don't want you to miss a single one. Before you leave, I want to ask you something honestly. Has anything in this video connected with your experience? Have you been dealing with this and feeling like you weren't being heard? Leave a comment below and tell me what part resonated with you most. Because every comment helps me understand what matters to you, and that is what shapes every video I create. And one more thing. If you have a friend or a family member who is dealing with nightly leg cramps and has been told it's just magnesium, please share this video with them. Because the right information at the right time can genuinely change someone's life. Don't miss the next video appearing on your screen right now. I think it's going to matter to you just as much as this one did.